That's the reason why I got into this, to be honest. Like, the reason why I got into bodybuilding was my friends kept telling me I should do it. And I was like, okay. But what really made me commit to it was, what's the worst thing that can happen? Worst thing. And I was like, I don't really know if there's any worse thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I do this right, like and what are you going to tell your friends? You know, because I'm coming from basketball and trying to get a lot of them to understand what this means to me. They didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
It is what it is, right? They're like, protein shakes. Like, we don't care about that. Like, here's a beer, bro. Like, stop being like that. But, you know, you start thinking, wow, I have to, you know, readjust my whole entire life. So that means I have to, when I decide to sign up for something like this, that means that I have to kill self.
Hey, let me take 1 second here to let you guys know that my products, the Titan Crew, are available over at Walmart. You got the pump product, get that focus on the workout, the test booster, bump it naturally, and then the joint support. You gotta keep the joints healthy, that way you can train for a lifetime. I want to take that 1 minute. Let's get back into the podcast. Thanks again. Hello, everybody. This is the Michael O'Hearn Show here on Generation Iron, and I have two incredible health and fitness titans back again today. Phil Heath, the legend, and Frank Sepe, aka Pretty Boy. Well, they're both pretty, actually. Great guys, have a lot of knowledge through the health and fitness world, but even beyond that. And I hope you guys pick up on the knowledge outside of the fitness world, in the business world, to be able to create the dreams that you may want to create. So you can also live that lifestyle of health and fitness. All right, let's get going.
I saw you recently with Jordan Belfort, right? And you were with a couple other people, right?
Yeah. I was at Jordan's house in Miami and had a really nice conversation. This is obviously a person who has experienced a lot, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he's on that full circle of recognizing, like, he won, he lost, he cheated, he didn't, you know, like, he did a lot of things, and he has chosen a certain path that allows him to focus just more about teaching people. And it's amazing to see, like, his work ethic, because he's writing a book right now, and a lot of people, you know, I mean, Frankie, you know this, like, you could write it yourself or you could have someone ghostwrite it for you in 6 months, you know, like, It is what it is, right?
It's not as easy as people think.
You know, he was spending time. So I told his son, who puts on the podcast, I said, I'll sit here and wait till he's done for the day, because I know he's editing, right? He goes, yeah. He just tries to overly edit and shit. So I said, okay, that'll be a question. So I asked him about that, and he just said, I want it to be perfect. And I said, you know what? Then that's what you do, no matter what anyone says, because this is your life. When you do have control of your time, you want to give just your everything. So I learned a lot during that conversation. He loves bodybuilding, which is great. And I see people like him draw interest for what guys like me have accomplished because of our work ethic and our mindset. So I think it's a good way of, you know, when you can, like, our sport is being watched by tons of people who don't.
Oh, yeah.
So therefore we have to lead with greater professionalism. So then if I'm on a podcast with someone, I know that the athletes, that they're going to get the same. Well, they have to understand how I got it in the first place. It took me a career of success to get there, and then to know how to speak about it to a different audience. But yeah, meeting with him, meeting with Ed Milet, who's freaking dope. Like, I love that guy.
Ed's great, isn't he?
Ed is the man. I love the man. I mean, he's probably the most present individual I've ever met in my life. Like, when he speaks to you, he's 100% present. And I think when your net worth is, you know, pretty freaking, you know, we're not talking 7 figures here. We're talking like 9 figures, almost 10. You would think the complete opposite, but like you said, Frankie, I mean, like earlier, you know, the people that have had success, they just want to share, man. They just want to, like, chumming up with people that may, and it's as if these badasses, they know they can scan who's on the Forbes list and who ain't, like majority of the 1%, they already know, like, I've achieved this, you guys have achieved what you achieved. There's not anyone like you. So therefore you already won. Like, that person should not ever have to posture. Just acknowledge the presence of sharing time and see where the conversation can go. Cause you just never know. That same person that said, "Oh, I might have to be pro." If you would have just said, "Hey, I'm John," maybe you would have been like, "You know what, John? I'll give you some tips, man. I work with Steve Weinberger, all these other guys. Here's my. I think if you do this, this, and this, you might be able to get into a pro show and actually do something, and maybe you get sponsored and stuff. But just keep a good attitude, man. And even if you don't win, there's plenty of sponsors out there that, you may not make the biggest paycheck, but maybe I'll help you. We always want to help people that are nice. We don't want to help people that are.
Yeah. I mean, you're right, Phil. People don't realize, and they have too big of an ego, that you can learn something new every day from someone. One of my best friends is a psychic, John Edward. He was a psychic. He had a television show for 12 years, sold out arenas, everything. We've been friends since 2003, 2004. We both wrote books together for Hay House, went on tour Australia. And the most insightful person that I've ever met, and I've met a lot of people, like, just gives me the best advice, meditate, like, just incredible. Like, I'll sit there and he's, like you said, always like present in a room and just gives you these tips that you can apply to fitness or your life. And that's what I try to do with people. When someone comes up to me like, how do you get ripped? How do you get this? I'm like, you got to get a structured plan. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, it's the definition of insanity. You're not going to go anywhere. So you really have to put a plan together based on your schedule and your daily activities, your kids, and everything. Otherwise, you're going to be unsuccessul. And that goes from the gym to the outside world or to whatever you're into. But going back to John, like, would give me tips on, like, like you said, sometimes I'd be so angry over stupid stuff, and no one's been the target of more, negativity than he has. Like, you know what I mean? So he kind of helped me navigate that at in the early 2000s and stuff, to kind of like brush it off and to be a better person.
It's tough though, right? To do that, because of you being,
yeah. I mean, unless someone comes in my face, I'm knocking them out.
Well, yeah.
But if they're going to, like, someone wrote, I was doing leg presses today, and they're like, do you follow the same range of motion as Dorian Yates? I don't give a shit what Dorian Yates does. I'm like, let him do whatever he does. Like, I do what I do. Like, I don't care. Like, I just deleted him or blocked him. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, like what Dorian does, what Mike does, and what, you do, whatever, fine. I do what I do for either I'm modifying it for my body, or that's the way I do it. I don't need to question you. Someone come up to you, Phil, and like, why are you doing that exercise?
No, but I do always say this to people, especially when I do, like, meet, is learn how to ask more detailed questions.
Yeah, that's
got to be better about your questions, because you're only going to meet this
when.
Imagine if I were to meet Warren Buffett and I only got 60 seconds. I have something, either it's just going to be all gratitude and just say, hey, I'm just happy to meet you, or it's going to be something that, hey, I was thinking about this, and this very hard, but I've really narrowed it down on this thing. What do you think? What are your thoughts? And it's something that he can answer, right? But not something that I could have answered myself. Does that make sense?
I got to add to that, because I always try to show a scenario on when people are talking about lifting and stuff. And I'm like, you guys do understand the guy that just made this comment, we all get the trolls, but the guy that made the comment is this skinny little fat guy. This is, oh, you shouldn't do the reverse bench with that kind of bar, because what's going to happen is, yeah, really? Okay. But would you ever go up to Warren Buffett and Warren go, hey, so what I think you should do? Warren, I know how to invest my money. You don't know anything about this. Right. I wouldn't do that. I would be an absolute idiot. But that's the guy I would listen to. Warren Buffett would be the guy I would listen to, because he's done it over and over and over and over again.
I think it's happened for one major reason. In our society, especially in the United States, when it comes to sports, we're one of the only sports where we don't have like a professional facility. So follow me with that. It's like if you meet an NBA player, it's just by luck. It's really by luck, because where do they practice at? They practice at a real training facility, no public access. You're really not seeing these top 1% people out because they're too busy in professional settings. So people have to recognize like their time is so valuable, and you have to be really cognizant of that, just for them to spun out, like be like, oh yeah, I want to help you. I still lead with the fact that if I were to meet anyone that I try to meet, I always try to provide them something that they could benefit from. It may not even be advice. It could be like, oh, I see you like smoking these cigars. I decided to go buy some for you. Or, hey, like for instance, I used to, work with Valuetainment with Patrick Bet-David. And I remember the first time he and I did a conference together, he was speaking so much that I knew it by day 3, his voice was going to be gone, right? It was like 5 days thing. I was like, your voice. When he interviewed me, I talked the whole time. And then he was just like, I was like, are you cool that I did that? He was like, no, it's fine, because my voice was cracking. I said, here's what you're going to do. I talked to his assistant. I said, these are the vitamins that he needs. Also, here's a tip. When you shake hands, it's always right hand, right? It's always the right hand. Wipe your face with the left, not with the right. So no matter what happens, this one's probably clean, right? And then always carry sanitizer on you. And it's like, and for him, he was like, man, I ain't thinking. And I was like, oh, and a matter of fact, let's go get you an IV after the event is over. They'll come to your house. Wasn't even thinking about this stuff. But that's what top level people we think about in other people's lives. I could have easily been like, yeah, he's on his own. He's smart enough to get it. It's like, no, let me provide something so that he can benefit. It's just a small ass gesture.
It's outside the box.
Yeah.
You're ahead of the game. That's the little details.
Yeah. And that's what we do. And I think a lot of the time that's one of the superpowers that we have as individuals in health and fitness, is because we've gone through so much adversity. We've been guinea pigs to every product known to man. And we have so much to give. And it's not like if I give away all my quote unquote secrets that there's going to be another one that wins all this. Probably not. But it's going to be a lot of people that get out of their own way.
Going back to what you said, Mike, I wouldn't go up to a 7-time Mr. Olympia and tell him that he, how to diet either. We're talking about Warren Buffett. Right? It's funny. When I worked on ESPN.
Before you tell me this, let me ask you, Frank. Has anybody ever said, hey, you're doing that wrong. You don't know how to diet. You shouldn't do that. Hey, you should take this in.
Not to my face.
No. Social media. Social media.
Oh, today somebody.
Okay, so my point is,
you're going to get knee replacements. Like, you're going to need knee replacements if you keep doing leg presses like that. I said, thank you.
Do they even know the last year of you? I mean, it's like that. That's, I can't comprehend that, because first of all, there's only 0.000% that looks like you at your age. Now, disregard that. You're 25 and you look like this. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever you say about health and fitness, I would take that over another guy that maybe won some titles, because the way you came and started from your young ages, when we were like 16, 15, 14, what we look like and what we look like today, it's like, that's the life you want to live.
They're not asking questions though.
No,
they're making questions. They already had their mind made up. Their cup already full. And this is right. The cup was already full. Therefore, you can't receive anything.
Yeah.
So you have to empty, like Bruce Lee would say, right? So it's like, you got to at least empty it like a third. Isn't it worth it? So I think a lot of people just don't have true method to their madness, and it's a better, like, they have to learn. Maybe they should watch. Here's a quick example. They should watch SportsCenter. The reason why I say that is because you see people ask athletes questions during like press conferences and stuff. You should see how detailed some of the questions are, and some of them that are really shitty. And you see the response from the athlete. The ones that are more insightful and respectful, they get the best out of the person. the ones that are just like very direct and kind of bland, you know, that's when you see like a guy like Belichick just be like, yeah, so we went on 3rd and 10 because we saw the safety did it, and that's what we threw the slant, and that's it. But if you gotta, it comes down to asking better, more detailed questions, because anyone that has been competing or just looking the way you guys look for that period of time, you should be asked like, wow, like what I know I read about you guys, but like I saw something in this magazine or online. They were talking about 45-degree angle leg press, and you know what, Mr. Sepe, like I see that you're doing this. Have you ever had an injury with that? Because I kept hearing that over time this would happen. And then you could say, well, not in my existence, not in my life. And I've structured my training around, you know, proper foot plate technique, blah, blah, blah. But when you just go into it thinking that you, like, this is it's like, is he hurt? No. Does his legs look good? Yeah. How long has he been doing this? Longer than the majority of people on social media alive. Would I want to look like that in my 50s? Probably.
Would you want to look like that at 25? Yeah. Yeah. He's like,
if we were cavemen and cave women back in the day, no one would know how old we were. We would just basically be on site.
So, man, like, let me ask you guys, how often do people actually ask you questions online and versus in public?
Go ahead, Mike.
Public, very rarely, unless it's an appearance. They rarely come up to me at Gold's. They do come up and say, I've taken your advice. And I love that, mostly because it's from the older guys going, hey, I was doing this, this, and this. And I heard you talking about like blunt force trauma or Wolf's Law. And I incorporate it and I feel better and healthier and stronger. And so I like that.
Yeah, I would say a lot. People ask questions, whether it's about, you know, because listen, I'm doing muscle and fitness, Olympia flex, all that stuff. So people, whether it's an icebreaker to have a conversation, you know, to see what's going, where they can get it in, or I don't know, but I get a lot of most questions I get are from women over 40 about how to get back in shape, or guys who, you know, want to get back in shape, you know, or in their 40s or 50s, like, you know, because they see you and they're like, oh, you know, they legitimately like, wow, how did he do it? I'm around his age, and, you know, what can I do to get better? And then I'll, you know, have a conversation, but online all the time.
Yeah.
You know, same as all of us, you know, but Mike's comments firing back at these people are amazing. Mike, you had me laughing. I almost ripped an ab muscle the other day. So Don and I were doing this cable exercise, cable squat at the end. And Don is like, you know, back in the day, this wouldn't really be considered, you know, a great exercise or cool, but I'm really feeling it. And Mike texts me, he goes, this is lame as fuck. It's lame as fuck. But I'm just laughing. Like, you know.
Sorry about that.
No, he's like, nah, still lame as fuck.
No, I didn't win. I want to take a second from my show to say thank you to one of our sponsors, Transcend. This is the health and wellness company that my family has chosen to work with. They get your blood work done so you understand what is going on inside. We might look good on the outside, but you never know what's going on. So that's who I'm recommending for you guys out there. Get on over to Transcend. Get your blood work done today. Make sure you're healthy and stay in the game. You guys rocked it today. Man, thank you so much for doing this. You guys are incredible.
Thanks.
Man, I got so much out of this. And again, always good to see you. And it looks like I might be moving to Florida, Mona says. So me and Phil are going to be neighbors and training together now.
There you go. The Sunshine State has been great for Sheree and I. And, you know, what's funny about Florida is you get a really good sense of culture for sure. But, you know, everybody just loves the gym. And I love that. But what's really neat is that, at least in my experience, you know, people have been super respectful. Like the way.
I got a question then, because we're both Washington State kids. Does it feel like that old kind of family, good community where you're growing up? I know that where you grew up is maybe a little different in the sense where I grew up, but is it at least that kind of?
There's some spots where, like where you grew up on the east side, and even where I grew up, like further, like let's say like Burien, like Normandy area, like Normandy Park area, where it's like sick freaking homes on water. Yeah, they have places like that, like in Weston, Pompano Beach.
But the attitude though.
Yeah, dude, honestly, man, I freaking love it because I was in Denver for 23 years and I watched it just tremendously convert to just strong, hardworking people to just being defeated. And just everybody just, I get it, like you want to get along with people, but I think by always wanting to be liked, you end up making some really stupid decisions. So I saw a lot of my friends who own small businesses, you know, really struggle. And it's just different. It's a different vibe. Bodybuilding there is great. I love Armbrust, you know. I always will, you know, love that place. That's my second home. But I tell people this not as disrespect. I go, they're like, hey, would you ever move back? I go, absolutely not. They're like, what? I go, absolutely not. I did 23 years there. I did more years there than I did in my hometown. I love it out here. I get to, if I really want to be in the scene, I can. But I live downtown Fort Lauderdale. I'm pretty much in the scene, but I stay out of it nonstop. And it's easy to do that. Whereas in certain states, certain cities, you're in it. And you're going to get bothered. I can't be in South Beach, dude. Like, it's going to be a problem. Like, Sheree and I, we've gone out maybe like three times down there in 1 year. And it's just like pretty overwhelming, to be quite honest, as far as like going from pandemic to not seeing anybody to seeing like a rush of people and they know you and you're like, I never had like social anxiety, but you almost get a taste of what that feels like. But the people, I'd say have been good for families. There's plenty of areas where if Sheree and I had children, we know exactly, kind of like over where Dan is, Solomon, like he's in Parkland. That's a really nice area. There's really nice areas for schools. Like there's private schools all the way around over here, which is dope. But you want to get out in that sun, you want to be 15 minutes from the beach. I mean, we're right there. So
Mona's dancing right now, just so you know.
Yeah. And don't think for a minute that I'm not already gonna find a warehouse to where I can put some toys in there so I can train. You know, and then have it exclusive for the homies and be like, hey, just punch in a code. I got cameras, so I know who's coming. But have at it and do your social media in there. Because I think it's becoming now where you almost need your own facility to go do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Right. Frankie knows, man. It's like,
oh yeah. Plus you got monkeypox, mad cow. Someone said online, they were like, monkeypox, mad cow. He's like, I think I need a veterinarian more than I need a doctor. I was like, what are you talking? But yeah, you do need, like Don Saladino's got his barn. He used to have a 15,000 square foot gym. Yeah. And he's more productive than ever just in his own space because he gets to spend time with his family, gets right outside. So yeah, I mean,
that's really the goal for us too. Like we're literally moving out of this place and just moving like like half a mile up north and into a bigger space. And, you know, we figured, well, during that time, we'll figure out how to, like, where we want to build a home and all that stuff. Because we just see, like, being able to travel out of here isn't bad either. I thought it would be horrendous, but it was actually not bad. Because I fly on United a lot. So, especially being from Denver. Fort Lauderdale to Denver is like nonstop every day. Fort Lauderdale to majority of places is nonstop. So I'm good. And if I have to go to Miami on an international trip, I can fly anywhere. So everything is good. The Cuban coffee is something incredible.
The Cuban coffee.
Cuban coffee is dope. If you like Cuban food, say more.
That cooking down there. Oh my gosh.
Pork sandwich.
I can see how some people like either they're rotund or they're just like fit, like they're just round, like because you're getting all these good healthy foods down there. So like I said, I just like the culture. You're gonna get some morons here and there, but it kind of makes things interesting. And you know what's cool too is that I get part of the New York vibe because a lot of people from tri-state area have moved down.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that different vibe, and it's that vibe of, and Frank, you'll know exactly what I'm saying. You're not white, you're not black, you're just in the fucking way.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't care. You could be an alien, but just get the hell out of the way.
Hey, dude.
That's a New York thing. It has to be, because Mo's like that. I don't care what you are. Just get out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Oh,
exactly.
yeah, 100%.
I love it. We need more of that.
Yeah.
Like, and there's, what's really neat is like, those guys, Ryan Clark and the guys I did with the podcast on the Pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Fred Taylor lives here. So does Channing. RC's down here every now and again, and they coach. They help out with, high school and in little league football and stuff. Just to see the competitive kids, like on the track running, doing sprints. Like I was, and this is during the summer. I mean, the summers here, they're mild compared to like Houston, Dallas. They're mild, in my opinion. I mean, is it humid? Yeah, but it's like 80%, like 70%. It's not 100% with 100 degrees outside. Like it's not that. But yeah, I love seeing like how many kids are into sports, because you just know, like, anytime competition comes, you can't really have just in my experience, like you ain't gonna have a lot of crazy violence, because even those gang members want their community kids to succeed. They do. Mm-hmm. It sounds crazy, but it's true. So we love it here. We've made a lot of good friends here. I don't see us. I mean, if we had to leave and build something somewhere else, we would still have to own something here.
The majority of dads here would always be complaining and stuff, like, taking their kids, like there would be 8 feet of snow outside. They have to dig out their cars and stuff to take their kids to like football practice and everything else. And like, they're like, in Florida, we should move to Florida because it's so nice out and they get to go to the games, like, practice 4 or 5 times a week. And we're like putting, bird seed down on the ground and kitty litter to basically dig yourself out of the,
how many times you slip
to the gym too? Like, dig yourself out. You're spent before you even get to the gym. But
yeah, like how many times? It's because people would ask, like, why don't you do the Arnold Classic Columbus more? I'm like,
you told me, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you guys realize like that's in Denver's coldest, like roughest time of the year? They're like, yeah, but I'm like, but nothing. Like, I always felt like, Balboa and Rocky IV, man, like, which dope, but you're gonna get sick during a prep. I got sick every time I prepped for the Arnold, because you're just gonna catch a cold. But you can't like not go to the gym even though there's a whiteout.
No,
you
gotta
still go. I mean, and so now you're risking your life. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking, how many times did I like get in my truck and I'm like, oh shit. And
gotta do legs.
Yeah, and then it's just something else. But being out here, it's easy. I go outside, do one of these, be like, hey, it don't feel bad to me. And lastly, I can wear a Hawaiian shirt every day because
what do you got, a Tommy Bahama, Phil? You got the Tommy Bahama shirt?
You know what? What's cool is, so my father, who passed 8 years ago, he would Tommy Bahama, but he'd also wear like those like legit Tom Selleck Hawaiian shirts.
Magnum PI, baby.
Yeah, bro.
So he would wear these and he'd wear them at work, and he worked at Home Depot, right? So he worked in appliances, and he was like top grocer in State Washington. How many times? I don't know. But he was that guy that could remember. He just see like, hey, Frank, how you doing? Hey, I know that warranty's about to go out on your furnace. This. You need to go, exchange that water heater or whatever. He already know what's going on because he had it all like in a notebook.
Yeah.
But man, he would wear these Hawaiian shirts, and people. Sometimes I go, do your coworkers ever question? He goes, yeah. Sometimes customers question it too, and I always tell them, I'm doing what I love, therefore I should wear something I love. So I'm wearing something that makes me feel on vacation because I love helping people. So he was like, and me wearing these shirts, I just feel good about, helping people. I'm moving them, grooving them, talking, I'm doing my thing. And the sales prove that just wearing that. So he would come to the Olympia wearing it. He went to my wedding in it. He's done those things. So when he passed, I asked my brother, I was like, so what are we going to do with all these shirts? And I'm like, you're the only one that could really fit them. He was like, I'll wear them. So recently I started, purchasing some more, because it's such a good way of thinking. Wait a minute, I'm in Florida. I can wear this. Got my Magnum PI, on. And
funny you should say that, Phil, because my dad was an NYPD narcotics detective, right? And they used to call him Tom the Arm, like, because he had these big biceps, and he always used to wear a sleeveless shirt. Like, I'd see him in the summer, and he had that natty hair, like, I'm saying, Italian hair, and he had the giant arm, like, whatever. So it's funny, like, what it just sticks with you because you're wearing Hawaiian shirts, and I'm wearing these sleeveless shirts that my dad wore. And I'm like, I wonder if he wore like an Izod, if I would, like collar button shirt, if I would be rocking that right now. But it's just so funny what is imprinted in us, like, and I take that for my son too. Like, like I wonder if he's going to look at me now and 20 years from now, it's like, well, my dad used to wear this all the time. And
totally.
It's so funny because the Hawaiian shirt's the sleeveless shirt. It's just funny.
Well, they see us, right?
Yeah.
They see us. We see our parents. And a lot of it's just caught, not taught.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's really neat. It'll be even more impressive when we see, I'm going to start calling him Mr. Titan because the kid growing. Yeah. So Mr. Titan over here, before you know it, he's going to be doing something that either Mona did or Mike did. And it could be as simple as like how he holds a steering wheel. It could be how he points to something.
Yeah.
Because I used to do that. Like my dad, he would drive and he always drove. He must have thought he was a gangster or something. He always drove like these big old Lincolns, the Continentals, like the big, everything had to be big, But he was from Texas, so everything had to be big. And he would drive, and he'd drive like this, like he'd just be, turning like this. So I kid you not, I'm like 17 years old, and I'm driving him, and he goes, and he just starts laughing. And I go, what's that all about? He goes, I'll tell you later. So he tells me later that night, he goes, who'd you pick that up from? I was like, what? He goes, oh, nothing. You'll figure it out. So then, like, the next time we hang out, I was like, I know what it is. He's like, what is? I said, you drive like this, and so do I. He goes, how would you know that? And I go, well, you are my dad, right? But it's just cool. It's cool. That means that we leave an example on children and on other people based on our habits. So that's why, again, it's all about showing discipline when you don't feel like, sticking with those freaking core habits. It's not like people don't get tired. I mean, I guess for me, I probably know this question, but I'd like you guys to answer it. So you've both have had a season of like where you weren't winning.
Mm-hmm.
How did you handle that? How did you approach it? What was like the first, like, give me like the first thing that you saw, like, what did you have to like, okay, this is what I got to do right now.
Go for it, Frankie.
For me, probably initially we spoke about this, Phil, going after the divorce. Mm-hmm. Like, you're used to being this family guy, used to seeing your son every day, used to doing like, it's just embedded in you. And now that change, it's a complete change. So that getting used to, I used hot yoga, meditation, and good people, a good circle of people around me. Steve Weinberger, John Edward, my mom, my dad, to kind of lean on and to guide and give me guidance. Because as much as a kind word, advice from someone you love means a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for them to take the time, sit you down and say, hey, what's the problem? Just to hear you talk and to kind of, to let it out. Like it's very, very helpful. But meditation, huge, like huge for me, as well as the hot yoga. That was the only time in my life that my phone's away for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It's me and that's it. And I think that helped me tremendously. And I was talking about the walks, just spending time by myself. And, because a lot of people fall into a hole, whether they lose a job, they lose this, they do this, it sends them into a, tailspin that they can never get out of. My mindset was, I'm going to come out of this stronger. I'm going to be better. And, I'm going to do the things I need to do to make that happen. So I sat, and when I meditated, I put a plan together of what I wanted to do financially, personally, whatever it may be, and wound up better off than I was. A lot of people can't do that. But, so having a strong mind, having a strong support system around you is extremely, extremely important, I think.
Did you do?
I think that's gold. I think what Phil was saying, or for anybody to understand, when you're winning, everything's great.
Yes.
Don't get too high. But when you're losing, if there's something like Frankie was just saying, it's like he had to remove himself, listen to his own voice, I guess, in the head, and do yourself and focus on you, and then go for walks and stay in the health and fitness world. I did the same thing on my low times when I was winning in life compared to when I was losing in life. And when I was losing in life, I stayed consistent with the basic stuff like Frank was talking about. I stayed on my nutrition. I stayed with the training. And then the rest of the day I'd be crying or just being on my pups because I just lost my mom. That's when I really dropped. And so it was the same kind of thing. I didn't think I would come out stronger like Frank was, but I knew that if I could do this and just maintain, I'll come out better in the mental sense and a different person. And so that's how I did it. And I think for anybody out there, you don't have to compete. You don't have to do anything like this, but there's a beautifulness. And I think we all get it when you work out or eat right, at least take care of the root of your body, that it helps clean the mind instead of going the other way and eating the Doritos and the pizza going, I don't care. Nobody loves me. I'm just going to get out of shape and stuff. Cause then it's a temple.
I have a picture, which I'll put out.
The nude one that I sent you this morning?
No.
Or is it a different picture?
A different picture. Yeah.
Okay.
Different picture of 2 years ago compared to today, and it's night and day. You could see how much better physically I am, and just I don't know, just looks much better. But you quickly learn who your friends are when you're winning, and when you can when you could do something for somebody, and then all of a sudden that's removed. You quickly learn who your friends are. You can just look on social media, who was liking your stuff a year ago and who's not. If you switch jobs or if you do this, it's like a lot of fair weather fake friends out there. So that. Well.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think those seasons are necessary. I think throughout your life, it's almost like tryouts. Like, okay, we're having a season of tryouts, but I think also what we're describing is when you are going through those low moments in time, some people just don't have the capacity to weather through them with you.
Some people are happy that you're down. They're like, ha, 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 ha. And that's, and that actually fueled me to be like, okay, we'll see. We'll see.
And a lot of people don't, unfortunately, a lot of people put too much value in what other people say. Yeah. So when they do get hit hard like that, especially, let's say, especially divorce, I mean, I've been through it as well. It can snowball into because misery loves company. Yeah. And then you now have to recognize, okay, I say I don't care. I say I don't give a F, but I really do. But then you don't do anything about it. So you mask it with, drugs and alcohol, or I'm just going to be hyper-focused about business. I mean, I was like that. I was extremely hyper-focused about, hey, I may be, divorcing, but I'm damn sure not going to lose the Olympia. Yeah. You have to salvage whatever you have that is working for you. And that will, I think, for the most majority of people, if they were to really sit down and set the emotional side aside, just take it all out, put it over here, and write out what you have going well for you right now.
There's that everyone's always like, woe is me. Well,
Yeah.
it's always that woe is me. When I was going through the divorce, my brother died at the same time. My parents are sick, whatever it may be. And it seemed like there was a black cloud and things were, kind of getting really bad. But if it wasn't for having the opportunity to go to the gym every day and train by myself, who knows what would happen. And since I was 13, that's been my mental and physical therapy of going to the gym every day. Yoga, everything else is ancillary.
Yes.
Being able to go to that gym and train, and instead of Mike said going to alcohol and this and that, no way. I would actually train more. Like, you know what I mean? And that really helped get me out. Because when you look in the mirror and you're staring at yourself 20 pounds heavier, fatter, and out of shape, it's just you're gonna completely go down a rabbit hole. But if you're looking at yourself and you're getting in better shape, the mental and physical play with one another. And I think that's
that's the reason why I got into this, to be honest. Like, the reason why I got into bodybuilding was my friends kept telling me I should do it. And I was like, okay. But what really made me commit to it was that what's the worst thing that can happen?
Mm-hmm.
Worst thing. And I was like, I don't really know if there's any worse thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I do this right, like and what are you going to tell your friends? Because I'm coming from basketball and trying to get a lot of them to understand what this means to me. They didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
It is what it is, right? They're like, protein shakes. Like, we don't care about that. Like, here's a beer, bro. Like, stop being like that. But, you start thinking, wow, I have to, readjust my whole entire life. So that means I have to, when I decide to sign up for something like this, that means that I have to kill self. And that means having to analyze the type of person you are, type A, type B personality, whatever, and how you handle adversity. Now, people that didn't compete in any type of sports growing up and stuff like that are going to have a hard time.
Yeah.
They're going to have a very hard time. But I think what's important, like what Frankie just said, is that, you have a good proximity of people that provide value. You got to be able to touch, I'd say I always think of a starting five. You got to have your starting five people that no matter what come down, 2 a.m., whatever, they're going to pick up the phone. You ready to go off yourself, they're going to help you. You need some money, they're going to help you. Something catastrophic is happening, they're going to help you, and they're not going to judge you either. And I think that is the most difficult part growing up. I think when you get older, that's when you try to like make sure this, like, hey, do me a favor, guys, don't F me over, man, because I'm getting older and I really like this starting five I got on right here. I'm willing to give you the same. And whereas when you're 25, I mean, it's usually just, I've been telling young guys about this too. It's like they get into sport and they're trying to get their female, their spouse, their girlfriend to buy in. I'm like, you don't ask the right questions. You can't be a narcissist and not know how to explain why you do what you do. You can't even explain the reward system that is involved. So therefore she would stick around for this. You're just doing it just to be doing it. And I think overall, a lot of people don't have that detail. And when you choose health and wellness, you have to freaking know why, man. You get one body. And, I think if we were to ask people who out of Frankie and Mike is going to have a long life of health and wellness, people will probably say, is there a C? Both? They're going to say that because we're looking at people who have done it through generations, and there's a lot to be learned. I can't say that enough for people that are watching this. It's not like I haven't learned from these two gentlemen as well, because I don't know how much younger, but I'm still younger. But at the same time, I look at Frankie, I look at Mike, and I say, okay, they're able to, why can't I do, hiking? Why can't I still train heavy if I really want to? Well, that means, hey, Phil, you need to hit up Mike and say, look, this has been acquired through 30 plus years of training. Let's call it what it is. Where do you see, or how about I show you what I currently do, and maybe you can give me a couple pointers. But I think that's where, through social media, people have to stop paying attention to highlight reels and start paying attention to what they really want and ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Crushed it.
True.
Crushed it. You guys absolutely crushed it. And I'm going to leave it there with Phil's.
Okay.
I hope you guys take the information that these two gentlemen just spilt for everybody. I appreciate you guys today. We'll be doing this again, and we'll be seeing you both very soon again. Frank Sepe.
Thank you, guys. Good to
Yeah,
see
go.
you.
Phil Heath. Thank you, boys. Enjoy the day.
All
And
right.
again, thanks for doing this for me. Both great guys, and I could basically just leave the camera rolling and these guys could talk for hours and have so much knowledge for you guys to pick up on in life outside of the health and fitness world. But I think a lot of the stuff they did as athletes, as young athletes, have helped them in the business world and in life, how to cope with the hardships and how to really stay focused on their ultimate goals in their lives. And that's why they're both doing what they're doing today at the pinnacle of the industry. That's it. I'll see you guys next week.